Live to you. Facebook, live to you. Radio, live to you. Radio.
Isn't it strange how, as you look up information about this case against R. Kelly and these accusations surrounding him, you would just keep hearing certain terms popping up. You keep hearing people say things like enablers, handlers, etc. Well, if those terms are true, then you can't look over other terms, such as gatekeepers. Throughout the course of the music industry, many people have referred to individuals as gatekeepers, not only with the music industry, with anything in Hollywood. So, as I continue to listen to these stories, it's almost like one and the same. Like, these people are explaining the fact that they felt it necessary to get the green light from R. Kelly, being the gatekeeper, the king of R&B, the person that could open many doors for so many. But what if so many people put too much pressure on an individual? What if individuals around this person was doing a lot more of the puppet mastering than they want to acknowledge? All in all, the more you look at this case and these stories, the more things should be signaling something isn't right in these stories. Now, you don't want to automatically go off and say someone is lying, especially when it comes to allegations of abuse. However, in this day and age, it's becoming too much of a trend to take a person who's disgruntled or unsatisfied with their lifestyle and turn that person into a victim. From the beginning, they grabbed our attention with this cult bullcrap. But think about it. Don't they refer to people having large followers, a large following base, as having cult followers? When you think of people like Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, don't they have a cult following? So for me, I felt like from the beginning, the stories that were coming out were over-exaggerated. But never would I imagine how deep this whole thing goes. For decades, R. Kelly has been the center of several allegations of alleged abuse, all of which he has denied. On the evening of July 11, 2019, Kelly was arrested in Chicago on sex trafficking charges, including child pornography and obstruction of justice. Here's a timeline of the singer's allegations of abuse and scandals. In 1991, you have Tiffany Tia Hawkins, who I call Patient Zero. Tiffany claims she had a 3-year relationship with R. Kelly from 1991 through 94. According to her lawsuit in 96, she sued Kelly for personal injuries and emotional distress. No mentions of being underage. Ironically, it took a fraudulent marriage certificate to surface before she realized she was a victim. According to articles, Kelly disputed having a relationship with her and demanded a DNA test for the child she was claiming was his. Strangely enough, she has been given the platform to share her story. It wasn't made clear this child she had wasn't Kelly's, as she told her story on this Surviving R. Kelly platform. But they wait all the way to the end before they type it up right beside her image stating that R. Kelly wasn't the father. So that poses the question, who was the child's father? And maybe if they get to the bottom of that, they can find their answer. They also never mention the fact that former disgruntled manager Demetrius Smith is the person who assisted Hawkins in receiving a payment for her alleged abuse. Now, throughout this whole article that you will find in the description, you will also see these videos that I have linked to the article that will put the story together more, as I only have a limited time in these videos. But anyways, the same manager admitted to informing the record label Kelly was signed to of an alleged problem, though he claims he never saw any inappropriate actions with any minors. In '92, Kelly released Born into the 90s. In '93, he releases album 12 Play along with #1 single Bump and Grind, which sold 8 million copies. As we come to find, when there's a lot of money involved in situations, sometimes people get a little excited. And as we have continued to watch display, money is always going to be the root of all evil. Or let me take that back. Not the money, but the love of money. So we'll start to realize that if you follow R. Kelly's pattern of releasing music, and if you look at these allegations that keep coming his way, you will notice there is a pattern. So in '94, R. Kelly allegedly marries Aaliyah. But they always leave out the fact that in '93, in his music video, Summer Bunnies, it featured Aaliyah. It also featured his ex-wife, Drea Kelly. So that makes you just wonder, considering Drea Kelly has been around as Drea Lee since the early '90s. How could she have missed all this going on? Contrary to the story she would put out, it's very clear that she would tour with R. Kelly, appear in videos with R. Kelly, so it's very impractical to believe that she was just locked in the house. Nobody saw her or knew her. So anyways, in '96, he married Andrea Lee and has 3 children with her. By December, Tiffany Hawkins makes her claim of abuse. The biggest issues many have with the stories of some is the fact that so many people are not being named. Some are now claiming to be victims when they in fact participated in the activities being discussed, and others acting as witnesses all maintain they never saw him with underage girls and or had a role in stealing money from the artists. So if you think back and you just listen to everything people have said in the past, they always say he's had a problem with younger girls. And that has been my issue from the beginning, because I believe that through that, they're not insinuating that these young girls are minors. It's just that fact that, as I pointed out before, in some situations, he's double their age. So most people find that a problem. But realistically, that's a common occurrence in certain areas. Another issue is the fact that none of these accusers filed police reports. Hawkins expects the public to believe she attempted to make a report and was turned away. Now, considering how big-name celebrities and public figures were being targeted in that time frame, I find that story hard to believe. Take people like Mike Tyson, Tupac. It was an endless list of people being hit with claims and allegations. But they want us to believe that this big star, such as R. Kelly, they wouldn't jump at that opportunity. So back on Aaliyah, 94 through 95. And even though they said they quickly got annulled, why did it take so many months? Another thing is the fact that Aaliyah's family have always maintained they were always around the late singer. And that should put some of the rumors to rest. However, just because some people want to make their point, they refuse to let this young lady rest in peace. The same manager, Demetrius Smith, also admitted his role in the fraudulent marriage certificate and the fact then accountant Daryl McDavid advised him on Kelly's marrying Aaliyah. According to them, he had to marry her because of a situation. People have claimed being at this alleged marriage ceremony, yet no one was ever held accountable, considering they want the public to believe this was a real marriage and not a publicity stunt. Strange, these same individuals still run in the same circles and are not being held accountable for their roles in alleged illegal activities. Again, you will see more to verify information that I'm putting out as far as the individual who claims to have been at the marriage, who gave an interview, who in 2018, his wife was bringing on R. Kelly and celebrating his 51st birthday. So to me, that just doesn't align with the situation of people being aware this man is sleeping with minors. Many people look over asking about other people who were supposed to be at this alleged wedding, such as the pastor, who has never commented on the topic. Now, call me crazy, but one document they claim to be a copy of the marriage certificate looks more like a birth certificate. And I've included that as well, so you can compare the difference between the marriage certificate that was aired out from Chicago and what a certificate of birth looks like from Chicago. So the general public should just ignore the many times Aaliyah and her family denied the rumors and even seeing her dancing to R. Kelly's music. Her cousin quietly exposed that they were never married, and that Daryl McDavid and Barry Hankerson had a fake marriage certificate made and used it for underage girl blackmail on R. Kelly. This was something that even a legend such as Smokey Robinson, I'm sorry, not Smokey Robinson, Barry Gordy had to face. And you can look that up too, in which a journalist did pretty much the same thing to him as Jim Derogatis did to R. Kelly. The difference is with Motown, they shut it down. Contrary to these people on R. Kelly's team who just let all this stuff continue to pile on. So you must stop and ask yourself, why? What's even more crazy is that this rumor that Aaliyah had a secret child by R. Kelly that no one has ever seen. Even fans entertain the notion, creating a whole storyline for this imaginary child. Some people have heard in some interviews that Drea Kelly was referred to as Mama Bear. So that would go back to what I previously said about her compliance and participation in certain events, which many people have also spoke on in other interviews. It's no secret R. Kelly loves women, so you can't ignore the fact that these women that sought after the artist were willing to do whatever it took to get his attention. Even more so, you can conclude the statements they have made implicating themselves in activities now being labeled abusive makes it clear they had motives to give deceptive stories. In '96, you have Lizette Martinez. According to Martinez's attorney, Gloria Allred, who also represents many other alleged accusers, she states that Martinez does not have a criminal case, yet is hopeful for a future civil case. Money. So it's strange that Lizette doesn't have a case, but other people before and after her have a case. How does that make sense? In '97, Kelly seems to address the turmoil that's going on in his life at a concert. He stated, "It amazes me when I look back 8 months ago, cars, women, money, and the media, I had everyone's attention." So he begins to speak out to his fans about some of the things going on in his life. And I hear people repeat over and over that R. Kelly doesn't speak on this and R. Kelly doesn't speak on that. Well, seems like to me, people just weren't listening. What's also interesting along my research is between '97 and '99, you see this growth in UCC filings against R. Kelly and McDavid. Right after that, you have Lisa Van Allen saying she met R. Kelly at a Home Alone video, which was in '98. So, of course, that would mean, if you do the math, considering she was born in June 1980, it was unlikely that she was 17 when she met R. Kelly. Even more so, they leave out the fact that her baby's father, Damon Pryor, also did work for R. Kelly, appearing in videos. And interesting enough, he's also a part of this so-called cult called the Nubian Nation. You should look that up in your spare time. I also did a video on that. What's interesting about him is he was going to be a surprise witness for the defense in R. Kelly's first trial. However, with Lisa Van Allen's testimony being all over the place, they didn't need Damon Pryor, especially with his shady background. It more so gave an insight as to the type of person they were getting testimony from. So, I'm sorry, I don't even know what that was for. But anyways, considering the star witness is not credible and also took part in illegal action seeking payment for this alleged tape, not to mention the smallest lie of denying her marriage, can anyone take serious the testimony coming from Stephanie Edwards, claiming that it's her niece in the tape? And considering the fact that Lisa Van Allen's then fiance stated that he made sure Lisa Van Allen wasn't in the tape, he also admits to taking a role in the alleged sex tape scheme and its editing. So with that being said, that brings into question this evidence they say they have. Because regardless who's telling the story, it's always an implication that something was done to alter this tape. And with that being said, how can this tape be admissible? Yet it was. They tried it, and it didn't stand up in court. What's interesting is that now these ladies, Lisa Van Allen and her friend, who was active in the threesomes with her at the time, they now want to claim to have been underage when they were dealing with R. Kelly. And this is another point that I have in how, because of these laws they have passed with the splurge of this whole Me Too agenda, they've opened the door for people to just start coming back out the woodworks and saying they were a minor, not have no evidence to validate their claims, and the public is supposed to accept it, because of course they're not just going to let it play out in court like they normally would do. With these type of situations, it's all about inciting the public, which is why you have so many people steady planting these narratives. In another video that I will do, I will cover these enablers. But just to hit on it real quick, because another alleged victim is apparently a daughter to one of these alleged enablers, and that would be the Paytons. They claim that Andrea Payton, the daughter, was dealing with R. Kelly when she was 15 years old, around the same time as Rashonda, as a matter of fact. And according to the stories they've put out there, she was the trainer. So in 98 through 99, this is when the tape was allegedly made. And it featured several different people. I've also included a breakdown of the individuals who are now implicated in this indictment against R. Kelly, just to speed up through this breakdown. It's common knowledge that R. Kelly often used body doubles, and multiple people could look like Kelly, especially in a blurry video. Just think about all the people we have seen, especially back then, who kind of look like R. Kelly. People clearly tried to get money out of the alleged tape before leaking it to the media. In 2000 through 2004, R. Kelly relocated to Florida. And I also noticed that in this time period of 2001 through 2002, you see more UCC filings. Then you have this tape being received by the Chicago Times. You have R. Kelly's album with Jay-Z coming out. You have another alleged victim coming out. And you have R. Kelly's arrest. While all this is going on, you have R. Kelly facing other alleged accusers. But it's mighty strange. None of these accusers wanted to seek justice when they definitely could have got it, considering this man was already facing charges. Wouldn't that have been the icing on the cake? So to say people refuse to take police reports, that makes absolutely no sense. Also, you have in 2003 through 2005, during this trial, Lanita Carter and Precious Way. Lanita claimed she was a supporter of R. Kelly and she braided his hair. Then she was assaulted and waited years after the fact to reach a settlement. According to her, they wouldn't take her police report. And according to other research, she tried the same thing in going to the same attorney who helped all the other ladies get their settlements. Only thing is, she didn't want to take Miss Carter's case. That alone should tell you a lot. When it comes to Precious Way, considering that she has a famous cousin, again, another one of these situations where all these women want to pursue their careers at any cost. And it's funny that I also saw an interview in which she speaks on knowing how men in the industry are sexist and look at women in that way, but she keeps things on a professional level. So I'm kind of skeptical with her as well, considering she's never spoke out about this alleged abuse herself. Her story came through another person who's been implicated as an enabler, Cheryl Mack. 2007, you have Maxine Daniels, who's the daughter of Regina Daniels and Gregory Daniels. Again, people who were around during all this, and then had an issue with R. Kelly dating their daughter. According to people within R. Kelly's camp, they introduced her for this reason. According to them, that's a lie. Who knows the truth? But the point is, she was an adult. And more so, Regina Daniels was implicated by Lisa Van Allen as knowing about this whole sex tape ordeal. In 2008 and 2009, you have more UCC filings. So as far as people saying that R. Kelly signed over his publishing to Aaliyah's parents, it just doesn't make sense, considering they don't even hold Aaliyah's estate. Barry Hankerson does. So it just really don't make any sense. The time period, you would think, if that were the case, it would show somewhere in the paperwork. Hadn't seen that. Although there are clear signs of extortion, the narrative now is that Kelly obstructed justice. Though there are now allegations that should have been uncovered during the first trial, for some strange reason we should just believe this alone shouldn't raise red flags, including the questionable testimony and the questionable evidence. So this man ain't even good and out the way yet. And here comes another alleged victim. At the beginning, you see how she looks. Does this seem like the behavior of a 15-year-old who claims at the time she met R. Kelly, she was homosexual? Does it look like in this photo R. Kelly has the least bit interest in this girl? It looks as though she wanted to give herself an older appearance as time progressed. If a close friend, the reporters, court officials, and others were fooled into believing this girl was an adult, how can R. Kelly be held accountable for her deception? Although articles first described Pay's story as though Kelly was unaware she was a minor, clearly the new narrative is to keep pushing the underage theme in order to keep the public outraged towards the artist. It would appear that not only is the person Pace claims she reached out to her not being held accountable, neither is she, as it seems she also did some alleged recruiting. So in 2011, R. Kelly has throat surgery. This is the same time frame she's getting her little settlement. 2012, you got the IRS coming for him. And then you hear nothing else until 2017. Now, for someone to be such a predator, I'm finding it hard to believe many haven't questioned the age gaps between the accusers, as well as the time span in which the singer was out of sight, out of mind, to say the least. In 2013, former manager Daryl McDavid parted ways and then hit him with a lawsuit for $1 million. From the beginning of Kelly's career up until this point, there seem to have been so many shady business practices and lawsuits along the way, yet Kelly never managed his own money. 2015, Pace reemerged wanting more money, saying payments had stopped, and that seemed to have been the beginning of a new cycle. Are we to believe the parents miss the transformation of their daughter's appearance and public social media posts, considering someone had access to her accounts in her absence? It all took the right sequence of events to take place to cover the real agendas at play, from involving individuals in past scandals to recruiting new individuals to keep the stories going, at least until some began crossing the bloggers they once fed stories to. Everyone pushing the same rehearsed stories that triggered so many have suffered abuse, began to reach out to all those who have been reported on by derogatis, as well as started implicating so many to the point that either they would have to be a whistleblower, victim, or enabler. After gaining some attention on social media, parents set forth a plan to seek fame. All these individuals not only began speaking their truth, but also bullied others into falling in line. Then comes the ultimate slap in the face. The alleged accusers began to expose each other, The stories they told began to fall apart, and slowly but surely people are realizing they have been deceived. Despite the fact there are many ways to promote yourself via social media and other ways to network, many people will still rely on using the next person for their own common good or bad. These people may claim they don't know each other, but it's clear many of these relationships were overlapping, and one would be naive to think this wouldn't be motivation for any legal age woman to become jealous and spiteful. With that being said, I must continue to maintain this fact. Why would a person go all out to keep announcing all you have to do is be 18 if that wasn't their true thoughts? You're telling me that you believe this person is just adamantly trying to enforce this narrative that he loves all women of legal age. You got all these people who are saying that he likes young women, but they're not saying they've seen him with minors. And we don't see the deception. There are a few more accusers to explore, yet their stories all seem the same as laid out in previous posts and videos. These girls that spin the narrative that no one cares about black girls are not the real issue, but more like the simple smoke screens. It would seem majority of the girls that claim to have been victims were more likely involved with people within the entourage who have remained nameless.